And Lord Shiva brought Daksha back to life. But he wanted to teach him a lesson he would never forget. And Lord Shiva's expert. Lord Shiva could have put any head on Daksha. Yes? He could have put the head of a Gandharva, even better than Daksha's head used to be. But Lord Shiva put the head of a goat. Haribo. That way he would not forget this lesson. Every time he looked himself in the mirror, I'm not going to ever, ever, ever offend a Vaishnava again. No, no, no. So Lord Shiva had no envy, he had no hatred, even to the person who was trying to destroy him. He was compassionate. He was his well-wisher. And that is this beautiful story. Brajahari Prabhu, anything? You wanted me to speak something about Ratha Yatra. I'll just speak for a couple minutes. Tomorrow is Ratha Yatra of Lord Jagannath. But this story is important because we celebrate Ratha Yatra with Nam Sankirtan, and we want the Nam Sankirtan to be successful, not only for our own purification, but for the whole world. And if we're chanting the holy names and we're not offending others, then it's the greatest sacrifice, it's a great success. In fact, in one place in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raises both of his hands and says, just do two things and I will deliver you. Chant the holy names and do not criticize others. Very powerful statement. It's a sacrifice. Srila Prabhupada tells us that the internal significance of Ratha Yatra is to celebrate Shri Radharani and the Brijabasis' visit to Kurukshetra. When Krishna was only approximately 12.5 years old, 10.5 years old, he left Vrindavan. He was about 11 years old, actually. When he was about 11 years old, he left Vrindavan and went to Mathura in order to kill Kamsa. And then the Yadus, he brought them all to Dwarka, where he was ruling along with his grandfather Ugrasena, the whole Yadu dynasty. But the residents of Vrindavan were feeling such deep separation. And then Krishna told them he's coming to Kurukshetra, and he invited them to join for the solar eclipse. Now Srila Prabhupada explains how Ratha Yatra means Lord Chaitanya is Radha Bhava Duti Subalitam. He's Krishna with the devotional sentiments and the complexion of Sri Radharani. And they wanted to bring Krishna to Vrindavan. In their hearts, they brought Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra in chariots from the Dwarka Leela of Kurukshetra to Vrindavan. And this was the meditation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Ratha Yatra. He was offering prayers that no one except Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj could understand. He was speaking to Lord Jagannath. Amongst these prayers, he said, Krishna, that we are meeting here just like we were meeting together when we were very young. But I want you to bring you back to Vrindavan. Here, there is the rattling of chariots, crowds of people, horses, elephants. I want to bring you back to that forest of Kadamba trees, where there's just the buzzing of bees and the chirping of birds. Do you hear those bees? You hear the birds? Here you are dressed like a royal prince. But we want to see you dressed as a simple cowherd boy, holding your flute. There isn't even one fraction of pleasure that we are experiencing seeing you here as when you were in Vrindavan. And then Sri Radha says, it is said that the mind and the heart are one, but my mind is identical to Vrindavan. My mind can never be separated from Vrindavan. So please save my life by placing your lotus feet again in Vrindavan. Why the Gopas and Gopis' minds cannot be separated from Vrindavan? Because they know that it is Vrindavan alone that is the place that gives the highest pleasure to Krishna. They have no selfish desires. Their only desire is to give pleasure to Krishna, the highest pleasure to Krishna, the pleasure that Krishna yearns for, and that is only in Vrindavan. Therefore, their unconditional love makes it so their mind cannot be separated from Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada in this regard explains how the nature of the mind is accepting and rejecting. We accept those things that are favorable for our own personal enjoyment, and we reject those things that impede our personal enjoyment. It's amazing. That's the way the mind works. Constantly. Birth after birth after birth after birth after birth, we're accepting and rejecting. Yes. We accept a friend because they give us happiness, and then we reject them. We accept a food because it's good for us, and then we reject it later on. Accepting, rejecting. Now, the path of bhakti is so wonderful. It doesn't destroy our natural tendencies. It transcendentalizes them. It transforms them. Now, the Buddhist philosophy is this mind that's always accepting and rejecting, which means also hankering and lamenting. Always caught up with these dualities of hankering, lamenting, accepting, rejecting, and the whole world is just various expansions and manifestations of this accepting, rejecting, hankering, and lamenting, and it causes so many problems. Whatever you accept today causes you misery tomorrow. Dukkalayam ashashvatam. So therefore, the Buddhist philosophy is, if you want to find peace, you want to go beyond suffering, no mind. Yes? That is their perfection. No mind, no thought, no more accepting, rejecting, hankering, lamenting. That means no mind. You annihilate your mind. And sunyavad. No mind means void. And the Advaita philosophy is more or less the same principle, but with the conception of the Supreme. The Supreme is Brahman. But that Supreme is without quality, without form, without activities, without desires. It's like void with a positive, void in the terminology of a positive power. And ultimately, how to enter into that Brahman? No mind. You have to kill your desires. No more accepting, no more rejecting, no more hankering, no more lamenting. They're causing you bondage. They're binding you to dualities. Give them up. Mukti, nirvana, liberation. Now you're accepting what's favorable for your sense gratification and rejecting what's unfavorable. You have to give that up. Now bhakti, the perfect, highest, most natural of all spiritual practices, simply puts Krishna in the center. Now the mind is accepting and rejecting according to sense gratification. Srila Rupa Goswami says, what is bhakti about? Accepting what is favorable for devotional service and rejecting what is unfavorable. The same principle. The same identical principle that the mind is immersed in 24 hours a day practically. We're just Krishnizing it. Much easier than annihilating it. And much more effective. And how to rise the mind over this accepting and rejecting for material life? By absorbing it in Krishna. And Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada and all of our acharyas declare that when you're absorbed in Krishna, your mind becomes Vrindavan. Prabhupada says it becomes identical to Vrindavan. By hearing about Krishna, by serving Krishna, by worshiping the deity of Krishna, through the 9 processes of devotional service, we just try to keep our mind always busy, accepting what's favorable for devotional service, rejecting what's unfavorable for devotional service. By absorbing our consciousness in Krishna, then we find Vrindavan manifesting within our own hearts. And Srila Prabhupada says, if you have that absorption in your life, when you die, naturally you'll go back home, back to Godhead. You've already realized Vrindavan. You're already attached to Vrindavan. So naturally you will go to Vrindavan. So natural, so perfect. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, speaking the words of Sri Radharani, who is himself, is speaking to Jagannath, who is Krishna, that previously you sent Uddhava to teach us how to meditate on your lotus feet. We are not mystic yogis. We don't care anything about this. You're killing us by telling us, meditate on your lotus feet. We're not jnanis. We're not Astanga yogis. We're gopis. We want to serve you. We want to please you. As long as we want liberation, as long as we want mystic powers, as long as we want sense gratification or the pleasures of fruitive activities, then our service is contaminated. It is not pure, and it's not really satisfying to Krishna. And here, the gopis, the ultimate personification of the highest level of pure devotion, they are expressing their hearts to Krishna. We only want one thing: to love you and to serve you. And they knew that ultimately Krishna was yearning to come to Vrindavan. And therefore they wanted him to come back for his pleasure only. Longing, yearning, no substitute. Madhavendra Puri, he was suffering separation. It's a great ecstasy, but it appears like suffering. Krishna, you have abandoned me. Where are you? What am I going to do? And Ramchandra Puri saw his guru in this condition and said, meditate on Brahman. Mukti is there. Doesn't seem like this bhakti is working for you. You're miserable. So meditate on Brahman, Mukti. Substitute. But Madhavendra Puri, even that's faithfulness, that's chastity. No, I will not accept any other substitute. I'd rather burn in the flames of separation, if that's what my Lord wants, than to be floating around in the Brahmajyoti saying, I'm liberated. No. So this is what Ratha Yatra is about. It's about developing this unmotivated, uninterrupted service attitude toward the Supreme Lord. And in that spirit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught before the chariot of Jagannath, Baladev and Subhadra, before he began the kirtan parties, he offered the prayer, Naham vipro na cha narapatir na vaishya na shudro gopi bhartur bhadakamalayor dasa dasa anudas. My only designation is I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of your servants, anudas. It is this spirit of unconditional love, our aspiration, our purpose. And when we have this, and we perform the yajna before his chariot of Nam Sankirtan, then not only does it purify our own heart, but it purifies the entire world. This Ratha Yatra tomorrow will not only purify you if you are performing it properly, but it will purify Bombay, Maharashtra, India, Asia, the whole earth, the whole universe, the whole cosmic manifestation. Vrindavan Das Thakur said, when devotees raise their arms chanting the holy names together, then the power of the holy name, the purity of the holy name, Krishna and Radharani, like antennas, they're just going not only to I'll go back. When they're dancing in kirtan, their feet purify the whole earth. And when they raise their arms, they're purifying the entire universe. Haribo. So with this type of enthusiasm and this type of conviction, Srila Prabhupada wanted us to perform Ratha Yatra as we come together and chant Krishna's holy name. But devotees should be very enthusiastic. It's the one day of the year when we are exposing ourselves to the largest public audience. Yes? How many people? Hundreds and thousands of people will directly or indirectly see this Rath Yatra and be affected by it. So in the pandal, on the parade, in every way, devotees should really represent Srila Prabhupada the way he wants us to represent him. Imagine Srila Prabhupada is giving us, by his love and compassion, he is giving us direct entrance into Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal pastime of dancing in the Rath Yatra, in participating and giving others love of God for Rath Yatra. We should understand it according to its real value. We see through our ears. We should not try to evaluate by our own mental, intellectual exercises. But through Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and through Prabhupada's own words, we understand what we're involved in when we're participating in Rath Yatra. It's the eternal pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are being intimately given entrance. But we will realize our good fortune to the degree we follow these sacred principles. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Ras Bihari Dev ki jai. Radha Ras Bihari, they are not different than Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. Yes? They are personally coming on the chariots to give their darshan to the whole of Bombay in their form of Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra. It's very special. And Radha Gopinath, Radha Giridhari, they're also there. And even Radha Shamsundar from Vrindavan, and Radha Madhava from Mayapur, and Radha Gokulananda from London, Rukmini Dwarkadish from Los Angeles, all the Krishna is appearing as Jagannath to bestow causeless mercy upon all the devotees in all the world. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this inconceivable blessing, and thank you for participating. Hare Krishna.